The guy asks why he is here. Lee Chang-yoon turns around and remembers that it's Kim Da-jun. In his previous life, he was a melee fighter who invariably received the second or third rank in the first division. He also remembers that Da-jun was on the cover of newspapers, where there were interesting headlines. Are readers interested in looking into the hunter's home? What kind of hunter do they want to protect? Secrets of the popularity of hunter Kim Da-jun. Chang-yoon also notes that he never took first place, but he was often compared to a top player. Frankly, it came easy to him. But of course, in this life he shouldn't know who this guy is. So now, running his hand through his hair and fainting bewilderment on his face, Lee Chang-yoon asked, "Is he like that?" Da-jun, actively gesturing, introduced himself, and noted that he was studying in a parallel class. Does this mean anything to him? At school he is known as an awakened one. However, despite this, Chang-yoon sighed thoughtfully, and, turning away, repeated that this was the first time he had heard about him. He shocked Kim Da-jun, but quickly pulling himself together, he smiled awkwardly and said that this happens. Anyway, what is he doing here? He came to the selection for the Seoul Junior Club of the Hunter Academy. Lee Chang-yoon clarified that this is not the case. He wanted to use the gym, but was told he needed his parents' permission. Da-jun's eyes immediately lit up with joy, and he asked in a friendly manner, "Does he need help?" He's a member of the Academy's junior club, so he has easy access. Chang-yoon, hearing this proposal, understood that at that time he had already joined the club. However, Kim Da-jun added that in return he wants to watch him train. He thought humbly, well, nothing is free. Therefore, without expressing much joy, he still agreed, okay. Lee Chang-yoon thought that this was a little annoying, but at least he didn't lose anything. After a couple of minutes, the administrator announced that everything went fine. She booked the Seoul Hunter Academy members' hall for them, with Daegun as their guardian. They can head to Hall 3. Sometime later, Chang-yoon was sitting on a bench in the locker room of the gym and tying the laces on our sneakers. Kim Da-jun, waiting for him, suddenly noted that he didn't think that there would be anyone at school who wanted to become a hunter. Looking up, Lee Chang-yoon clarified, "Is he talking about him?" He answered with a smile, "Exactly. As he said earlier, he is a member of the Academy Club. But since most of the members are older than him, and he doesn't know anyone, it was difficult for him to fit into the team. So why did Chang-yoon come here?" He also said that he would not qualify. Despite the name of it, no one uses this place for training. He, jumping up to stretch his legs, explained that this was most likely because everyone was preparing to join the Hunter League. Overall, it's just a general training ground. Heading to the middle of the hall, Lee Chang-yoon asked Da-jun, "Is he sure he wants to stay?" "He's just going to test his skills and do some exercises, so it won't be anything exciting." But Kim Da-jun confidently replied that in this case, help him with his leg, since they go to the same school. After that, Chang-yoon thought with irritation, even in this life, this guy is trying to attract attention to himself. Given his past life, he is decades older than this upstart. He's definitely not going to ask him for help. A couple of minutes later, Lee Chang-yoon enters the training hall field as system windows appear around him. One of them announces that the setup is complete. Does he want to continue? It immediately selects the confirmation function. The next moment a bright flash appears in front of Chang-yoon. But unlike Da-jun, he confidently looks forward and doesn't even try to close his eyes. Suddenly, a huge leg equipped with armor appears right in front of him, and Lee Chang-yoon realizes that this is a clone of a tank, a player who distracts the enemy and prevents him from causing damage to weakly protected characters. He caused it. If he compares it to video games, he feels like the tank would be something like a training dummy. The only difference is that this is such a difficult, nasty one that it is almost impossible to come out of hiding. The tank raises his arm in the armor of a huge translucent weapon. The system window that appears indicates that the protection for this is not defined. Kim Da-jun, coming a little closer to Chan Yun, clarifies, did he press something in the wrong place? He needed to summon a regular clone if he wanted to train. Even in training mode, it will be extremely difficult for him to do anything at his current level. However, Lee Chan-yun, creating a spear with a blue glow in his hand, confidently asks, "What is this about? Punching bags must be durable. It's hard to do anything about it, right?" But Dejun should only speak for himself. Starting a training fight, Chan-yun wondered how he could break something hard and durable. The easiest way is to hit the target with something even stronger and harder. Obviously, he won't be able to do that now. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have other options. Having jumped into the air and examined the enemy, he understands that he needs to aim for the joints. After this, Lee Chan-yun confidently points the tip of the weapon directly at the shoulder joint, and when his spear reaches the target, bright sparks appear. The arm of the tank clone is cut off, and he, having landed, realizes with pleasure that he has excellent control of his own body. And now he needs an all-seeing eye. By activating this skill, Chan Yun scans the opponent's silhouette and notices the remaining weak spots on his body. Then, standing up straight and extending his spear towards the clone, he rushes forward. Having achieved this, Lee Chan-yun immediately attacks the tank clone in the torso, arms, and legs, causing it to eventually fall apart and disappear, defeated. Throwing the weapon over his shoulders, he noted with pleasure that he did not expect everything to go so well. He needed to videotape it. Kim Dejun, who had been watching the fight all this time, exclaimed, "It can't be. It was cool. He must have set up a minimum defense for the enemy. Otherwise, he would have needed a unique weapon to inflict any damage on the clone." Chan Yun, hearing such reasoning, thinks displeasantly, perhaps the guy is distorting what he saw because he thinks it doesn't make sense. After clapping his hands, Dejun hastens to add that Lee Chan-yun's movements were impressive. Nonetheless, he is confident that he would have been able to qualify. Was he trained in sword fighting? Or on spears? He wants to try it too before their team's training starts. Dejun heads towards the exit and answers indifferently. He can start. But at the same time, he confidently thinks that he doesn't need to explain anything to this guy. He will see for himself when he tries. After some time, the day comes to an end and a starry night sets in. The sword, which seems quite heavy in the hands of Kim Dejun, almost falls to the floor. And he, already quite tired, wonders what. He is sure that Lee Chan-yun did the same thing. In front of him stood a clone of a tank, completely intact and unharmed. Having opened the system window with advanced settings, Dejun wiped drops of sweat from his face and thought out loud. He also set the enemy's defense to a minimum. Then, looking up at the clone, he wondered, so why isn't this taking any damage? Reasoning about this, Kim Dejun once again swung his sword and tried to attack the enemy. However, it managed to defend itself with a shield, and he had to grit his teeth in indignation. The round moon stood high in the sky, and warm light poured from all the windows of the multi-story building. The sounds of blows continued to be heard in the training room, and sparks flew from the clones. Counting Dejun, not giving up and endlessly attacking it, wiped the sweat from his face and frowned, noting that he must have configured something incorrectly. Suddenly, someone called out to him, and turning around, he saw a brunette in the same athletic uniform, who was standing with his elbows against the wall. The guy asked in a friendly manner, is he not even going to greet someone who is more experienced than him? Kim Dejun immediately bowed and politely exclaimed that he was glad to see him. The brunette, looking behind him, said in surprise, "What? Why is he fighting a tank clone?" Dejun sheepishly scratched the back of his head and smiled awkwardly, answering that he just wanted to stretch his legs and practice a little. However, the guy, leaning against the clone, grinned and asked, "Who even fights with a tank clone to warm up?" Then, tapping Kim Dejun's forehead with his index finger, the brunette adds that he won't be able to damage this even on low settings. He shouldn't be a fool. These words hurt Dajuan, but he did not become rude, but only bit his lip irritably. In the window of the train rushing across the bridge, a night city and a calm river flashed. Chang-yun, standing leaning against the door and watching the view, thought, he is too weak. The Universal Training Base offers basic equipment for training hunters. After Dajuan left, he had the opportunity to fight the monsters he faced in the Hunter League, and use the AI hologram feature. It acts as a sparring partner. He came to the conclusion that he was too weak. His all-seeing eye is only rank B, so he can't land a powerful blow. His physical characteristics are only slightly superior to those of an ordinary person. He needs to work on his body to become stronger. At least full bloom speeds up regeneration. This he can achieve only through training. But he won't have enough time. In the evening, the training room is only available to club members, and he cannot get permission from his parents every time he wants to train. He needs to find a place where he can train alone. Suddenly a call from Kim Dajuan appeared on Chang-yun's phone screen. Picking up the phone, he said in surprise. What? He is listening. Dajuan immediately asked, is he coming to practice? Chang-yun asked wordly, what happened? However, he somehow strangely replied that he was treating me to dinner. So will Chang-yun come? Soon he entered a small restaurant with a bright yellow, which was called the Best Hangover Soup. There he was met by Kim Dajuan, who, having taken one of the tables, waved his hand to him, saying that he should come here. Sitting down opposite him, Chang-yun noted that he seemed to have a lot of money. Although embarrassed by them, Dajuan admitted that in fact there are too many of them. Then pouring water into glasses, he began. They already know that it is impossible to become a hunter if a person has a poor family. Chang-yun instantly became sad and bowed his head, quietly noting that it was true. At the same time, he also realized that the awakening tests and weapons are very expensive. But even so, too much money. This guy is the same as in his previous life. He always did everything he could to be the center of attention. After adjusting the cutlery, Chang-yun clarified, so what? Why did he ask him to come? Kim Dajuan said a little confused, what does he mean? Chang-yun explained with a smile that he was sure that he was not invited to dinner. Because he could not afford it himself. Dajuan awkwardly clasped his hands together and replied that he was right. Dinner was just an excuse. He wanted to ask him something. Chang-yun, raising his hand to take their order, suggested a clone of the tank. Kim Dajuan agreed and said that he tried to repeat exactly after him. But nothing came with it. He was curious if he had configured anything differently. Well, he doesn't even manage to finish when suddenly his gaze meets someone, causing Dajuan to lower his head in shame. Chang-yun, turning in the direction he was looking, sees three guys and is surprised to note that they have the same shape as Kim Dajuan. Are these his teammates? A tall brunette, walking in front of two guys who laugh at his joke, says, as he already said, it was a monkey who beat a tank clone with a mithril sword. One of his friends clarified, maybe the guy was testing the strength of his sword. However, the brunette insisted, no, he actually tried to defeat the clone with this. He just didn't have a word, can they understand him? It was so loud. Dajuan, about whom the discussions were being held, blushed more and more with every word, almost burning with shame. The guy, sitting down with his teammates at the next table, continued, he asked this idiot why he was doing this. It turned out that he saw his friend do it. Maybe he should have asked if his friend shot laser beams. Another guy with short hair said it must have been funny watching two idiots do it. The young man agreed, but unfortunately, his friend was not there. Chang-yun, listening to them, took a sip of water from a glass and understood everything. It turns out that this guy was disturbing Kim Dajuan while he was training hard. He can't just leave it like that. So, with a loud thud, he dropped the glass onto the table. He deliberately, loudly addressed Dajuan, settings for a clone of tanks. No, he doesn't need to change anything. It's easy if you know the trick. But it's good that he's trying to figure it out. There are a bunch of idiots who say it can't be done. But they are simply unable to do it. The brunette, hearing this, became angry and abruptly stood up from his seat while Chang-yun continued, "Does no one at his academy know this? Did his friend pay to be accepted?" However, when a large shadow loomed over them, Kim Dejuan immediately asked Lee Chang-yun not to speak like that. The brunette suddenly puts one foot directly on the surface of the table and, approaching him, rudely says, he must shut up. He's Chang-yun, right? Who he thinks he is? Is he disrespecting an academy student? If he had struck him awake, only broken bones would have remained here. He will only give him 3 seconds. He better apologize. Lee Chang-yun calmly looked up and down and thought mockingly. Why is this guy saying that? Just like a movie cliché, signing heavily and clicking his tongue, he also noted that he was really looking forward to this free dinner. However, slowly rising under the gaze of the brunette, Chang-yun very sharply and with all his strength punches him in the face, causing him to fly back. His friends, seeing this, immediately rose from their seats, exclaiming in fear. Jisoo, trying to pick it up. They looked in bewilderment at Lee Chang-yun, who shook off his hand and angrily noted to himself, if someone gives him 3 seconds, this is what he will do. He never misses an opportunity to strike first. Put Jisoo on his feet, the offended shouted, he is a petty idiot. But Chang-yun, coming closer to him, confidently said, the guy should listen to him. For Dejuan, he may be older and more experienced. But to him, he is just a stranger. So the guy shouldn't mess with him. Jisoo, not wanting to listen to this, tried to hit him again, asked what it was. However, Lee Chang-yun easily dodged, simply tilting his head back, looked at him with crazy eyes and asked him what he said earlier, there will be little left of him if the guy hits him. That's it, what if? He became so angry that the veins on his face bulged, and swearing loudly, Jisoo raised his fist again to strike. But Chang-yun instantly blocked his hand and again attacked his face, and why did he even stagger? But still, wiping his broken lip, Jisoo threatened, now he really messed up. The next moment, Lee Chang-yun's face showed surprise and he wondered, what is this? Can't be. Jisoo was enveloped in pink streams of energy, and the air around him seemed to be heating up. Chang-yun suddenly realized with horror that his all-seeing eye was warning him. A warning from this actually appears in the system window, which can calculate the risks and identify weaknesses. He jumps up sharply, creating a brighter flash of light and screamed loudly, a small earthquake that passed through the restaurant. Lee Chang-yun had to sit down, and looking at the dent in the floor, he wondered, a gravitational attack. Is this guy really going to use this skill here? These are ordinary people here. The other 3 students of the academy at this time were taking panicking people out into the street so that they would not get hurt. Jisoo, not paying attention to them at all, extends her right hand forward and directs a stream of energy towards Chang-yun, smashing the table, chairs and dishes into pieces. He had to jump back to avoid getting hurt, and as he tried to catch his breath, he realized he wasn't going to be too hard on this guy. But having risen, he called out to him and confidently said, he will become a corpse. But Jisoo, again accumulating energy in his hands to strike, replied that these were his words. Then he attacks Lee Chang-yun, but he manages to jump high up, and landing further away he says irritably, it can't be. At the same time, Chang-yun is also trying to sensibly assess the situation. He can evade the guy's skill thanks to the all-seeing eye, but cannot close the distance. Well, okay, abruptly picking up the plate from the floor and throwing it forward, he almost hits Jisoo right in the face. But he smiles contentedly, easily stops it, using his abilities and throws it to the floor, breaking it into pieces. After that, laughing, Jisoo asks, did he really think that this would work against him? Suddenly another plate rushes right into his face, from which all the contents splash out on him. Chang-yun continues to throw dishes at him, noting that Jisoo should have dodged. He begins to get nervous while Lee Chang-yun thinks that after using his skill, a person needs to wait a while to use it again. This is called a rollback. Jisoo does not hide his confusion, and, shouting insults, concentrates all his strength on stopping the plates. They fall again and are shattered, but at the same time Changyun calmly notes that if you use the skill without thinking about restoring it, this is what will happen. After that, he turns to him again, notes that now another plate will arrive. Suddenly Jisoo's hands were overcome by trembling, and he realized, it can't be, he can't use his skill. Therefore, the very next moment it actually breaks on his face, and Lee Changyun triumphantly notes that without the ability to use the skill, the person will be completely open to the enemy's attacks. Finding himself stained with food and closing his bruised eye, Jisoo screamed, he's an idiot. He should stop with such tricks. But almost immediately, he adds with bewilderment, what? Where did this guy go? Changyun doesn't actually find himself in the same place where he stood a few seconds ago. And somewhere nearby his voice suddenly rings out. His head, Jisoo begins to panic and twist this in all directions, asking what? Lee Changyun runs past him like a bullet, his fist straight towards his stomach. He staggers back and almost falls, reminding him what an idiot he is. He said head, Changyun, out of his sight, says for the second time, head. Jisoo looks around and asks, again. At the same time he also wonders where this guy will strike now. Again in the stomach? After that, he tries to cover this part of his body with his hands. But Lee Changyun appears from behind, slapping him in the face. Jisoo, weakening, falls to the floor, and he, grabbing him by the collar and continuing to strike him in the face, repeats head, 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 head. Soon Jisoo's face swells terribly, and he himself finds himself unconscious. Changyun, having calmed down and gotten up from his seat, wipes the sweat from his face. Suddenly looking around at the empty and destroyed room, he wonders, now what? It wasn't he who organized the pogrom. But he did strike first. And this guy is the only one lying on the ground, and there are no scratches on him. Kim Daejuan and this guy's friends are gone. What should he do? When a siren beeps from outside, Lee Changyun realizes it can't be, it's the police. It seems he has no other choice. For the next couple of minutes, he pulls off something incredible.